When two awakened souls meet, there exists a phenomenon of remarkable depth that unfolds when two individuals who have truly discovered their essential nature come into contact with one another. This isn't the narrative spun by romance writers. It isn't the story repeated in spiritual circles. It's something infinitely more nuanced, infinitely more significant, and in countless ways, infinitely more magnificent than anything our conditioning has prepared us to recognize. Let's be truthful about most human connections. They operate on a foundation of mutual deficiency. Two individuals unite because each senses an absence, an incompleteness, and the other appears to offer the promise of filling that emptiness. We call this phenomenon falling in love, but what's really happening is falling into dependency. It's two fragments attempting to form a whole, two vacant vessels hoping to replenish one another, two people drowning, grasping at each other, believing this will keep them above water. There's nothing inherently wrong with this pattern. This is where the vast majority of humanity exists. These connections can function adequately, even agreeably, but they rest upon a fundamental error in perception. They're built on the assumption that you're incomplete, that contentment resides somewhere outside yourself, that another human being can provide what you believe you're missing internally. When two awakened beings encounter each other, something completely different emerges. The first truth you must grasp is this: awakened beings don't require each other. Let that sink in because it's essential. They have no need for one another. They've already discovered completeness. They've already found that the wholeness they'd been seeking was never external to themselves. They've understood that they aren't separate, limited entities requiring completion through another. They are existence itself, experiencing reality through a particular expression. When such individuals meet, they're not converging to repair a fracture. They're coming together because they choose to, not because necessity drives them. This simple difference transforms everything. The entire essence of the connection shifts when it's founded on volition rather than requirement, on desire rather than desperation, on joy rather than compensation. Consider this analogy. When you're starving, genuinely starving, you'll consume nearly anything. You're not savoring the meal. You're merely attempting to eliminate the void. But when you're already nourished, already satisfied, then if you decide to eat, it becomes pure delight. You're experiencing every note of flavor, noticing every element of texture. You're eating for the sheer pleasure of the experience, not to fill an absence. This describes what unfolds when awakened beings unite. They're not exploiting each other. They're not attempting to extract something from the other to satisfy their internal void. They're simply delighting in each other, valuing each other, honoring the mystery of awareness, recognizing itself in another manifestation. Here's what becomes fascinating. Because neither individual requires the other, because neither is clutching or grasping or demanding, there exists a quality of liberation in the connection that most people never encounter. Each person possesses complete freedom to exist authentically, to evolve, to expand, to flow. There's no sense of ownership, no terror of loss, no frantic effort to control or manipulate or force the other person to conform to some predetermined image. When an awakened being observes another awakened being, they're not perceiving someone necessary for their completion. They're witnessing the universe observing itself. They're recognizing that the awareness gazing out from those other eyes is identical to the awareness gazing out from their own eyes. It's singular consciousness experiencing itself from two distinct perspectives, engaging in a cosmic dance of revelation and concealment. This recognition generates a very specific form of intimacy. It's not the desperate, clinging intimacy of two people terrified of solitude. It's not the theatrical intensity of two egos attempting to merge and dissolving themselves in the process. It's something far more expansive, far more effortless. It's the intimacy of two dancers who trust each other implicitly, who don't need to grip each other to maintain balance. who can move autonomously while remaining perfectly harmonized. Let me describe what doesn't happen when two awakened beings meet. There's no drama. There might be passion, there might be intensity, but there's no drama in the neurotic sense. No manipulation, no games, no struggles for dominance, no desperate campaigns to alter the other person, because both have seen through the ego's illusion. They're not engaging in that game with each other. There's no jealousy, or at least no possessive jealousy. An awakened person might experience a fleeting sensation of jealousy. They're still human, after all, but they don't become it. They don't construct a narrative around it. They don't weaponize it. They perceive it for what it truly is, a temporary emotion, a ripple on the surface of consciousness, nothing more. There's no fear of abandonment because the awakened person knows they can never truly be abandoned. They understand that even if the other person departs, they remain complete, remain whole, remain connected to existence itself. They might experience sorrow at a relationship's conclusion, but they don't suffer that existential panic that emerges from believing you've lost something vital to your survival. Perhaps most significantly, there's no attempt at possession. The awakened being understands that you cannot possess another human any more than you can possess the breeze, or the sea, or the heavens. The other person is free, has always been free, will eternally be free. Rather than experiencing this as a threat, the awakened person perceives it as beautiful. They're not attempting to cage a bird. They're marveling at the bird's capacity for flight. So what actually happens when two awakened beings meet? First, there's recognition. It's often immediate, not in the romantic sense of instant attraction, but in a deeper sense of, I perceive your true essence, and you perceive mine. A kind of transparency emerges. All the customary masks, all the social performances, all the ego's defenses become unnecessary. Both can relax into their authentic nature. This recognition creates a distinctive quality of exchange. When awakened beings communicate, they're not merely transmitting information or defending positions or attempting to impress. They're exploring, they're playing, they're dancing with concepts and viewpoints. They can disagree fundamentally about something without it endangering the connection because they are not identified with their perspectives. They aren't their thoughts. They are the awareness within which thoughts emerge. There's also profound respect, not the superficial respect of courtesy, but a deep acknowledgement of the mystery each person embodies. The awakened being knows they cannot fully comprehend another person, can never completely know them, and they don't attempt to. They permit the other person to remain enigmatic, to be unpredictable, to astonish them. They're not trying to decode the other person for the purpose of control or manipulation. They're simply appreciating the mystery. When two awakened beings are together, there are often extended periods of comfortable silence. They don't feel compelled to fill every moment with speech. They're at ease simply existing in each other's presence. The silence isn't strained or uncomfortable. It's full, rich, vibrant. They're communing at a level beyond language. Consciousness, resting in consciousness. Awareness, appreciating awareness. When they do speak, there's a quality of listening that's remarkably rare. Each person is genuinely hearing the other, not simply awaiting their opportunity to respond, not filtering everything through their own agenda or assumptions. They're open, curious, authentically interested in the other person's viewpoint, even if it diverges completely from their own. A particular kind of humor also emerges when awakened beings meet. They can laugh at the cosmic absurdity together. They can perceive the paradox of existence, the improbability of consciousness, the strange performance that life is staging. They don't take themselves overly seriously. They can laugh at their own egos, at their own patterns, at the human theater in which they both participate. Physical intimacy, when it occurs between awakened beings, assumes a completely different character. It's not about need or conquest or validation. It's not about using the other person's form to distract yourself from your internal emptiness. It's a celebration, a dance, a form of play. It's consciousness exploring consciousness through physical expression. There's no performance anxiety because neither person is attempting to prove anything. There's no disconnection because both are fully present, fully aware, fully alive to the moment. Here's something intriguing. Awakened beings can be together or separate with equal grace. They don't cling to constant proximity. They understand that closeness and distance are both valuable, that separation can be as nourishing as union. They can offer each other space without interpreting it as rejection. They can unite without interpreting it as possession. There's a natural rhythm to the connection, like inhaling and exhaling, converging and diverging. Neither phase is considered superior or inferior to the other. When conflicts emerge, as they inevitably do even between awakened beings, they're addressed very differently. There's no compulsion to be correct. There's no need to win. Both are more interested in comprehension than in being comprehended, more interested in resolution than in triumph. They can acknowledge when they're mistaken without it threatening their sense of self. They can apologize without bitterness. They can forgive without maintaining a ledger. There's also profound generosity in the connection. Not the forced generosity of someone attempting to earn affection, but the natural generosity of someone who's already fulfilled. The awakened being gives freely because giving brings joy, not because they anticipate reciprocation. They support the other person's evolution, even when that evolution takes the person in a different direction. They want the other person to be fully themselves, even if that means evolving beyond the relationship. This brings me to a crucial observation. When two awakened beings meet, they understand the relationship might not be permanent, and they accept this. They're not attempting to secure it, to make it eternal, to guarantee it will endure until death separates them. They're experiencing it now, fully, completely, without projecting into the future or comparing it to the past. Paradoxically, this very absence of clinging often allows the relationship to endure longer and penetrate deeper than connections founded on need and fear. There's also a quality of surrender in the relationship. Not the surrender of one person to another, but both surrendering to something vaster than themselves. They're allowing life to flow through them, to express itself through their connection. They're not forcing the relationship to conform to any particular form. They're letting it exist as it is, letting it evolve organically, trusting the unfolding. When awakened beings are together, they illuminate the best in each other, not through criticism or pressure or attempts at repair. They do it simply by being themselves, by demonstrating what authentic living looks like, by creating space where the other person feels safe to release their masks and defenses. Each person's awakening deepens the other's awakening. It's a form of resonance, like two instruments tuned to the same frequency, amplifying each other. There's also a sense of sacred ordinariness in the relationship. Everything becomes meaningful. Even mundane activities, preparing meals together, sitting in traffic, handling responsibilities. These ordinary moments become saturated with presence, with awareness, with the recognition that this moment, exactly as it is the only moment that ever exists. They're not waiting for some special future moment to experience happiness. They're discovering the extraordinary within the ordinary, the sacred within the mundane. Here's something that might surprise you. Awakened beings experience all the emotions that everyone else experiences. They feel attraction, affection, even jealousy and anger and sorrow, but they don't identify with these emotions. They don't transform them into problems. They don't construct narratives around them. They feel them fully and completely, then allow them to pass. It's like weather moving through the sky. The sky doesn't cling to the storm or reject the sunshine. It permits both to come and go. When two awakened beings meet, there's also recognition that the relationship isn't about personal fulfillment. It's not about completing each other or discovering happiness together. It's about something far larger. It's about consciousness exploring itself, about existence experiencing itself in relationship, about life expressing itself through the dance of two beings who've remembered their true nature. There's a well-known Zen teaching: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The same applies to relationships. Before awakening, you relate to another person. After awakening, you relate to another person. The actions might appear identical from the outside, but the internal quality, the internal experience is completely transformed. The awakened relationship isn't free from challenges. There are still practical matters to navigate, differences to bridge, adjustments to make. But these challenges aren't perceived as problems. They're seen as opportunities for deeper understanding, for greater wisdom, for more complete presence. Every difficulty becomes a teacher. Every conflict becomes a doorway to expanded consciousness. Perhaps most beautifully, when two awakened beings meet, they create a field of consciousness that affects everyone around them. Their presence together possesses a quality that others can sense, even if they cannot articulate it. It's peaceful, but not passive. It's joyful, but not manic. It's loving, but not needy. It radiates outward, touching everyone it encounters, inviting others to remember their own true nature. This is what unfolds when two awakened beings meet. Not the fireworks and drama and desperate clinging of neurotic attachment, but something far more precious. A meeting of two beings who've remembered what they are, who perceive the divine in each other, who can dance together without interfering with each other's movement, who can be completely united and completely free simultaneously. It's a relationship not of need but of celebration, not of possession but of appreciation, not of fear but of trust, not of becoming but of being. And in this being together, in this mutual recognition, in this dance of consciousness with consciousness, something profound reveals itself. That love isn't something that occurs between two separate beings, but the recognition that there are no two separate beings. There never were, and there never could be.